Hey everyone, it's Melissa with The Creative Season and welcome back. We are moving along right through fall. We're at the end of September. I can hardly believe it. And today we are going to do a loose watercolor. We're going to do a house with pumpkins and a twiggy leaf and this beautiful tree. This one needs another layer, but I wanted to go ahead and do the first layer, and then by the time this one dries, I'll show you how I do some detailed work. Now this is going to be a little bit looser today. And let me get this paint down and we'll talk a little bit, because you know I like to often use pins, and we're going to do a bit of pen work today and keep things a little bit tighter. Now for the house too, I'm keeping everything very simple. So a cute box house. I want my door to be fairly big because we're going to put that darling little twiggy wreath on it. And so on this one, I think maybe I'm just going to do a longer window. And we're going to add some pumpkins to really create that fall feel with our beautiful pumpkins and tree. And I'm going to show you how I take my colors off the tree and then mirror them on the leaves on the ground. It's really fun. It's not too complicated, and it just creates a really fun fall picture. And I want to do, let's just do one window on the roof. If you want to do two like I did in this picture, go right ahead. I'm going to go ahead and move this down a bit so you can see it. But in this house, I just did a little wreath here. I did two windows, so I'm going to just do one on this one. I'm going to go ahead and draw the outline of my tree. I'm going to move it back a little bit, but if you want to, you can place it however you like. Nothing's in the center, which is just like we like it. I'm going to go ahead and just put my tree boughs up. We're going to make this kind of a little bit of a not as perfect tree, which I like. And you know what? I thought it'd be fun to put like a little hole, like maybe a little animal has dug itself into the tree. I always like to have a little doormat, and I forgot to color in or sketch in my pumpkin in the last one, but I wanted to put in a few pumpkins on this one. So I'm thinking I'm going to put a pumpkin right here under the tree. A nice curvy stem. I'm going to put another one here in the window, and I may end up putting a few more here. Like maybe we'll have one right outside the door, maybe in the corner here. A couple of pumpkins lined up, which means I'll go ahead and erase this line here. All right. Cute little pumpkins. Okay, and then we'll have on this one, we'll have a path that goes both ways. Like we're right on a sidewalk in front of a street. And I'm just going to sketch that in. And then in the back, I'm not going to do a lot of sky, so I'm just going to sketch in my hills back there. Just like that. Okay, so now we're ready to go. We're going to start laying down our color. And I'm going to go ahead and do my color blocks. I'm going to be using a lot. Really, I'm not using any greens. I'm using browns, reds, oranges, and yellows. And so let me go ahead and first, and I am going to get in the tree trunk. And I'm just going to lay down a very light layer here. Going to go around just like that. Maybe put a little bit at the bottom here, but pretty light. I'm going to go ahead and get some more brown, and I am using, I need to refill my brown over here. I'll have enough for this though, I think. I'm using a size 10 brush. If you have something a little bit smaller, I might switch. That can help too, because although a larger brush, it's easier to go faster, looser, but if you want to do some of the detail work with the pumpkins, you might want to grab a smaller one. All right, so we have got that. I'm going to go ahead, put my color on my doormat here. I think the color of the house, I think it's going to be yellow in this one. I made the other one red. I was going to maybe make it into a brick. So I think this one though, but I do want to do the back of these hills. In California, basically everything goes yellow, right? In fact, it's not that bright. I'm going to add in a darker yellow. And so we're just going to go ahead, and again, loose. I'm not filling everything in. Just doing a nice color block so that can kind of dry before I put my other layers. And honestly, this is going to get covered by the tree. And I always have to remind myself of that. Let me grab my paper towel. And I'll actually dab a bit of that off, otherwise it gets a little bit messy. So do leave this part on top of your tree a little bit not colored in there. Now I do want to put my sky in though really quick. I'm going to go put some little bit of yellow in here. Let's get that sky in, and the sky I'm going to create, just use blue with a touch of Payne's gray in it, so it's a little bit darker, and I'm going to keep it pretty light. Try not to touch those mountains, so I'm going to leave a little layer in between, and that works out just fine. My idea is I kind of want to create that sense of a cold fall day. And let's go ahead, I'm going to grab my house color here. That nice cold day where you have the warm home and really a strong sense of fall. Now the other thing I want to do is I'm going to put my windows in. I'm going to use the same color as the sky. So once again we have that color just kind of dancing. Then also I'm going to put it in the window next to the door and move it around my pumpkin, and see, be careful there, I got it into the house, but that's okay. I'm just going to dab it. I'm also going to use this as my cement if you want to add a little bit more of the Payne's gray or your Mars black to make it darker, but I'm going to keep it just pretty light because there's going to be leaves falling on it anyways. All right, so we've got that down. Now I do want to go ahead and I'm going to put in my red chimney over here. And I think I'm going to do a red door. I forgot to sketch in my wreath, my twiggy wreath. Now I will say what you want to do is you want to create, I just am going to do an outline, and I'm going to make it so it's almost touching the outsides of the door, because I like a rather big twiggy wreath. And then I'm just going to sketch in the inside, and the reason, not even a whole circle. If you do a whole circle, that's fine, just erase some of it, because a twiggy wreath, well, by definition, it's going to be very twiggy. In fact, I had pulled off one of mine, and so you can see right here, you can see all those twigs in there and how they just kind of go every which way. Put that back there, and that's the essence of what we're going to create. And sometimes I do pull in a little bit of pen work for that. Now I'm going to create a red door because that just sounded like fun. And I put a little bit of red inside, but not a lot, and a little bit around, and then leave the rest of it white for now. We're not going to put in our twiggy wreath because if we paint the brown now, it's for sure going to bleed into each other, and that is no good. All right, get just a little touch more of red there at the bottom over here, and you know we're going to be putting some red in our tree as well. In fact, let's start out though with our yellow. So whatever yellow you want to use, whether it's a cadmium yellow or if you want to use a yellow ochre or a lemon yellow. Lemon yellow might be a little bit bright, but you can always add a touch of red into it. And I'm going to go ahead and just start dabbing away at my tree here. And really, I'm actually going to go up to the mountains. Try not to hit the sky, because that's where my tree, he's going to expand all that way. Now too, if you're watching this at home, what you can do is you can pause or you can wait for it to dry and then continue to add the leaves. And what I'm going to do is I take the same color and I just quote unquote mirror exactly what I did above, I do it below. And because we have that tree is really big, if I just pretend, okay, how is it stretching out over the area? It would probably be stretching out way beyond the sidewalk, right? We're just going to pretend someone swept that sidewalk. And then we know it's probably been windy, so it's probably, they're not as thick, but they're still around here. Now, okay, and sometimes I put a little water on and I just kind of do some dabbing around the sides, almost thinking that there's a little slope in the back. Okay, so my next color, it's looking very nice, but I want to add another color. Let's actually add a little bit of that red that we used for the chimney and for the door, if you use some red, and let's dab that in. And you know, if you get nervous about going bold, I know this is bold, but it's fun, and I just dab that in too. And I've got my little guy down there, and then I'm going to again mirroring down below and dabbing away. Now if you wanted to grab a smaller brush or a different size brush, so this brush, I do love these round tip brushes, but maybe you wanted to get one of these guys that is almost more of a horseshoe shape. That's going to create a different look. So I'll go ahead and get some orange now for my pumpkin here and the leaves. While this dries a bit, and yes, it looks like a mess, but that's okay. I'm going to just dab a little bit of orange here and here. I'm not coloring them all in, I'm just dabbing. And right there. And then I am going to come back up in here and I'm going to dab in some more. And then, of course, you know what I'm going to say next. We're going to mirror that. And we're going to go down here. And this is super loose, and that's fun, and it's just a little bit different. I'm going to pull out a picture real quick of a sketch I did that is the opposite of loose. And it's just fun to play and do different styles. All right, so I'll show you while that's getting dry. So this was one I did a couple weeks ago just in my own sketchbook, and this is what I would call really structured, right? Not only did I do a lot of pen work, but on my tree I waited for things to dry, and you can certainly do it that way as well. It takes a little bit longer, you do have to be patient with it, but it's a different look, and this kind of has reminded me of when I lived in Boston and looking at the homes there. So that's another way to do it, but for this project I wanted us to stay loose. You know, I think right now in so many areas of life, everything feels tight. There's a lot of stress and going on, and it really does sometimes takes intentionality to just go, you know what? I'm going to choose to be loose, to be light, and to have some fun and relax because that's important, and to do some projects with some people because that's fun. All right, so now that we have this going on, I do want to go back in and add some darker colors, especially the brown, right? Because as you can see, I want that tree to stand out a bit, that tree trunk. And so I am going to come back, and the roof, right under here, and add some more brown. And I can tell this brown had gotten mixed up with another color, so it's a different shade, and that's okay. I'm not worried about that. I'm also going to go right in here. And with this brush, I don't like it as much because I really like the pointy of a round brush. I'm going to grab the pointy one. Again, go back and get some brown. And then come back in here. And that way I can just go a little more smoothness. And I can put in my little stems for the pumpkins here, and here, and here, and there. And then I can also put in, I'm just going to dab my twiggy wreath. I'm not going to paint all the way around. I'm just dabbing. And I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to take a little bit more brown and come back here on my mat outside the door. And I am going to also add some brown underneath these pumpkins because we need a bit of shadowing, right? And around this pumpkin. And that'll help to darken everything up and create that shadowing. Back up here at the mountains, so if I pull in this guy, who is mostly dry, you can see with this one again, quite loose. I do want to take a little bit of pen to it. So I'm going to grab my micron pen and see if I can grab, so you can see this without me. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is, for example, I just want to clean up a little bit here. My window, where the pumpkin is, the door. It's still a tad bit wet, huh? So that is going to sometimes really affect those micron pens. Then with that, the roof, again, just a little bit, because I'm going to go back in with another layer of paint. And I'm just doing some very loose sketching. I'm not making everything exact. I may go in and do the cross paint on the windows. For the twiggy wreath, now if I put this in a little bit closer, with this guy, I'm going to do just lines, all going in one direction, but you can see how I'm just making it just like a twiggy wreath does, where it kind of sticks out. It's pretty unkempt, but that's the beauty of it. If you want to add it, make it really unkempt, you can even throw a couple extra lines, right? Unruly ones that are going the opposite way. I might create a couple darker ones. When I go back in with the paint, I'll add a little bit of darker in here to create that look of depth. And then on my pumpkin, I might just touch them up just a little bit like this, but not too much. My doormat, I'm going to put in my little doorknob there. And then over on my tree, I'm just going to go ahead just a little bit. We did the gold pen in a previous YouTube video, and we can certainly do that again here. That would be really nice too, a very gentle effect. I may go and play with that. Now with this too, I'm going to put just a little bit of pen around this little animal burrow, not the whole thing, but just a little bit of it. And remember too, usually we're seeing more shadow and it's getting darker as we move down. So putting that is going back in with some paint with that. I'm going to get some orange because I really want this to feel warm. Maybe if you have some cadmium orange or some cadmium red, you can mix that in so it's a little bit brighter. And then put this where you can see it. I'm going to go ahead and do another layer here. And you can see how it just starts to liven up. A little bit of red, but not a lot. And put that there. Now this one I had forgotten to mark out over the mountains, so I'm actually painting over them, which was okay because we were just using a pretty light color. So what I'll do is I'm putting in more of the red and the orange. And because it's wet, it's going to blend together. But you see too, where in the other sketch, those leaves were very distinct. They're not as distinct in this one. And that's, I think, really fun. I'm going to put some layers here. We're going to put some layers here. We're going to go put some more paint over here. And then in the background, I think just to show off some shadowing, I'm going to take that blue, the blue-gray, and I'm going to go ahead up against those mountains and just put a little bit of, just some shadows. Not a lot, just a little bit. I'm going to come back over here, making sure you can see that, and then in my animal burrow, I'm going to go right in here. Same thing. Right there. And if it gets a little bit too dark or starts to fade, you know, we can just take that paper towel. But I'm going to leave that. It looks imperfect, which is what I want. I'm going to come back over my windows because we got that little water stain there, but we can just take that out. And then I'm even go back to my twiggy wreath with my, and just do some dabbing. Go back around my pumpkin. We're going to let the whole thing dry. It's really, really pretty. If you ever thought the leaves were too much down below, you can always take your paper towel and just dab it. And then when it's all dry, you can even dab the paper towel above to kind of create even more, so we even create even more of a effect of fall there. So here we go now. Isn't that nice though? That's really lovely. You have a really nice home here. We only used a couple of colors. I will go back in and clean things up a little bit down here. I'll put some more shadowing right under the rooftop so it actually looks like it's hanging over, and I can even do that now. And I'll add just some of that Payne's gray, just the red. So again, we're staying within our color palette too. We're not using tons of color. And I'm just going to come right in here and that a little bit of brick look into my right there. And that looks intense, but I could just come back around with either a little bit of water and drag it down just like that. Or I could take my paper towel, but it will dry up a little bit more intense around the edges, which is what we want. Lovely. That's really fun. It's really fun. It's really gentle. It's really easy. I'm not, not worrying about being exact here. Take a little bit more too if you wanted to put some shadowing around the doormat, or even just darken this up, our path. That creates some contrast. Put a little bit more around the tree. Even down here underneath, because there's going to be a lot more shadowing. Very nice. Very lovely. Our beautiful fall home with our twiggy wreath. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I really enjoyed painting with you. You can find out all the newest videos when you sign up at thecreativeseason.com/blog is going to be the easiest way. There's a sign up bar, and I will see you next week and when we continue on our fall Paint With Me series. All right, have a great day.